It all happened so quickly that no one even had a chance to catch their breath. 1 second, the usual chatter of teenagers filled the chemistry lab, and the next, Tyler Johnson had his hand clamped tightly around Ms. Rachel Carter's throat, shoving her hard against the wall. The sound of glass clinking mixed with the hiss of gas escaping from an open valve. Everyone froze where they stood, everyone except Ms. Carter. Her dark eyes didn't carry a hint of fear. She didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't even flinch. Instead, her stare locked onto Tyler's, sharp and unyielding, as if she were looking at something far more dangerous than him. The way she faced him almost made his rage seem childish, like a tantrum rather than a real threat. And then, in just a matter of seconds, something unfolded that would shatter Tyler's future, turn Lincoln High upside down, and make every single person in that room question who Ms. Carter really was. That morning had begun like any other. The first beams of sunlight pushed weakly through the tall glass windows of Lincoln High as students poured inside. Their voices carried through the halls, blending into a steady hum of laughter, gossip, and complaints about homework. For most of them, it was just another ordinary day in the endless loop of classes and assignments. But on the second floor, inside the chemistry lab, an event was about to take place that none of them would ever forget. A chain of moments that would crush reputations, strip away arrogance, and reveal the chilling, hidden past of a woman who, until then, had seemed like nothing more than a strict but ordinary teacher. Her name was Ms. Rachel Carter, the new chemistry instructor. From the very first day she walked into the building, she carried herself with a calm presence that demanded respect. She wasn't fresh out of college, but she wasn't nearing retirement either, somewhere in her mid-30s, sharp-eyed and steady. That mix of authority and composure kept her students constantly alert. Still, rumors followed her wherever she went. Too strict. Too cold. Too mysterious. Her appearance only fueled the whispers. She wore long sleeves even in the heat of summer, carried herself with the rigid posture of a soldier, and had eyes that felt like they could see straight into a person's thoughts. Some students claimed she was divorced, others said she was lonely. A few swore she must have lived a whole different life before Lincoln High. And the truth? Those rumors weren't as far-fetched as people believed. But every school has one student who thinks they're untouchable. The kind who pushes limits, ignores the rules, and treats teachers like they exist only for his amusement. At Lincoln, that student was Tyler Johnson. His father was a wealthy businessman who practically owned half the city, and Tyler walked the halls as if the place was his personal kingdom. Tall, broad-shouldered, and always flashing a cocky grin, he made weaker kids his targets, shoving them into lockers, mocking them, and cheating on exams without ever worrying about consequences. Most teachers turned a blind eye, afraid of crossing his powerful father. But Ms. Carter wasn't like most teachers. She didn't flinch when Tyler interrupted her lessons. She didn't snap when he raised his voice. Instead, she'd meet his antics with a piercing stare that unsettled him in ways he'd never admit. For the first time in his life, Tyler felt small, and he hated it. That quiet, nagging discomfort was exactly what fueled the explosion that Thursday morning. The chemistry lab reeked of sharp, bitter chemicals as students focused on their experiments. At the back of the room, Tyler leaned casually against his desk, arms folded across his chest, his friends snickering nearby. His grin widened as he raised his voice so the whole class could hear. "Hey, Miss Carter," he called out, loud and mocking. "Are you actually a teacher, or just pretending so you can pay rent?" The room rippled with nervous laughter. Everyone knew Tyler's routine. He'd push, taunt, and humiliate until his target cracked. But Ms. Carter didn't give him that satisfaction. Without even turning toward him, she spoke calmly. "Focus on your experiment, Tyler. Your solution is about to overheat." That one quiet remark hit him harder than any insult could have. His jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being dismissed, especially not in front of an audience. Most teachers would stumble over their words or try to appease him. But she had shut him down with a single sentence. "Don't tell me what to do," he muttered, his voice slicing through the chatter. "You're not my boss. My father pays your salary." The room fell silent. A few kids tried to hide their smiles while the rest stared, waiting to see what would happen. Slowly, Miss Carter turned to face him. Her eyes locked on his with a cold, steel-like intensity that sent a chill through him. He tried to cover his unease with a smirk, but his forced grin looked weak. "You may think your father's money runs this school," she said, her tone sharp and deliberate, each word cutting with weight. "But in this classroom, science and discipline are what matter." Her voice carried a steadiness that was impossible to shake, like a wall Tyler couldn't break through. For the briefest moment, his confidence faltered, and his heart skipped. But pride, poisonous, blinding pride, kept him from backing down. With his friends watching, with the entire class waiting, Tyler Johnson wasn't about to surrender. With a dim, defiant glare, Tyler snapped his notebook shut and pushed himself to his feet. "And what if I don't?" he challenged, stepping closer. "What are you gonna do if I don't sit down?" Ms. Carter's tone didn't rise, and her voice didn't waver. But there was a sharpness in it, something forged from fire and experience, that made more than a few students instinctively straighten in their seats. Tyler, blinded by arrogance, mistook her calmness for weakness. His pride flared, and in a reckless burst of spite, he crossed a line no student should ever dream of crossing. In an instant, he lunged forward, clamped his hand around her neck, and slammed her hard against the counter. A chorus of screams erupted. Chairs screeched across the floor as students jumped up in shock. Some fumbled with their phones, but the moment felt frozen, like time itself had paused. Tyler's grip tightened on her throat, his face twisted into a cruel grin, convinced of his own victory. "What now, huh?" he whispered, pressing harder. "What are you gonna do now?" But something shifted. Ms. Carter's eyes didn't widen in fear, they narrowed. In that moment, the mask of the quiet, ordinary teacher dissolved, and something far more dangerous emerged. Years of training, discipline, and fight, buried beneath her calm exterior, suddenly came alive. Her hands shot up like lightning. She seized Tyler's wrist in an iron grip. His grin faltered, discomfort creeping across his face. Before he could react, she slammed her other hand against his elbow, bending his arm in a way nature never intended. A raw, hoarse scream tore from his throat as pain surged through him. His hold loosened instantly. With a swift motion, Miss Carter slipped free, spun behind him, and locked his arm tight against his back. The sound of his body hitting the counter cracked through the lab like thunder. The room went still. Every student froze, mouths hanging open in disbelief. Miss Carter hadn't just defended herself, she'd moved with a precision and strength no normal teacher could have. Her stance, her control, every move radiated the unmistakable presence of someone shaped by grueling training and experience. Leaning close, she whispered in a voice so cold and sharp it sliced through the silence. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Tyler thrashed and twisted, but the more he fought, the tighter her grip became. His friends, usually quick to laugh or cheer him on, stood rooted to the floor, fear etched on their faces. No one dared to move. For the first time in his life, Tyler Johnson wasn't in control. He wasn't a predator anymore, he was prey, trapped in the hands of someone he had never seen coming. "Apologize," Miss Carter ordered, her voice quiet but fierce, like a warning growl. Tyler squirmed, sweat dripping down his face. The boy who had spent years tormenting classmates and mocking teachers now shook like a leaf. His arrogance crumbled in seconds. "I'm sorry," he croaked, his voice cracking. "I'm sorry." Only then did Ms. Carter release him. With a shove, she pushed him forward. Tyler stumbled, clutching his arm, his once cocky face pale and humiliated. The room fell silent. No one dared to laugh. No one dared to whisper. Every pair of eyes stayed locked on Ms. Carter, the woman who had just dismantled Tyler Johnson with frightening precision. Calmly, she adjusted the sleeves of her blouse, straightened her posture, and regained her composure. But in her eyes burned something darker, a storm, a glimpse of a past none of them could even begin to understand. She scanned the stunned faces of her students and said simply, "Class is dismissed." At first, no one moved. Then, slowly, the students began packing their books, shuffling toward the door. Their glances darted nervously between Tyler, still clutching his arm, and Miss Carter, who stood tall and unshaken like a soldier at ease. By the end of the day, whispers of what had happened spread like wildfire through Lincoln High. Ms. Carter wasn't just a teacher, she was something else. Something dangerous. And Tyler Johnson, the untouchable tyrant, had been broken in front of everyone. No begging, no empty threats. Just pure skill, precision, and a presence that couldn't be ignored. Deep down, Tyler knew his life had just changed forever. His arrogance, his shield of power, had been shattered by the very person he thought he could intimidate. Because Ms. Rachel Carter's past wasn't rumor. It was real. And that reality had just crushed him in front of the entire class. Money could buy influence, but it could never buy true respect. Respect isn't inherited, and it sure as hell can't be purchased, it has to be earned. Wealth can bend rules, silence critics, and shield you for a time, but eventually, everyone meets someone they can't buy. And when that happens, the truth has a way of tearing everything wide open.